Captain's Log, Subdate 200413.1. I just found out that I have a transporter pad next to my cot. Note to self, don't try to use it to get fresh fish onto the Lovecraft 01, as the transporter is not made for live creatures, and ended up turning the swordfish I was trying to capture into pate. Delicious, but very messy. I may need to set up a containment field for future use. For the sake of this video, I would like for you to consider it the next Halls of Injustice. I know what you're all thinking. Oh Megon, don't you usually release these on Friday? Yes, I do. But Content Constable is dropping then, i.e. social repose. Could be fun. Hope to see you all there, provided it gets through monetization. If it doesn't, I might cry. Anyway, this is a bit of a weird one, because it's not someone that's been charged, but I can think of a sentence because of how stupid they're behaving. And it takes a certain level of stupidity to go public with this, considering the circumstances many people are currently facing. Not everyone has access to a transporter or a replicator. The person we are going to be addressing is called Emmie Shooter. She hasn't really committed a crime, which is where this gets a bit peculiar. But as you can see, the ISO cube is ready for her, with complimentary looped video footage of a £450 man playing with his boobs and trying on a bra. You're welcome. And by the way, I have other videos of this. I'll happily change the channel to different angles if you want. In the United Kingdom there is a current shortage. Many retailers have managed to find ways to negate these shortages. They were brought on by panic buyers. Those same panic buyers just bought everything they saw and didn't really think about what it was they needed in favour of what they wanted under the guise of, but we might need it. Foods they may be allergic to. Foods they didn't have storage for, but they had cause. Ordinarily, this doesn't really matter for the most part, but because a lot of retailers have now prohibited the number of people within a family that can enter a store, which then limits it to one person going into a shop at a time, with those same retailers introducing restrictions for how many of a certain item you can buy, or how many items you can order from an online shop, or whether you can do online shopping at all if you are vulnerable or not, and whether or not because of your lack of vulnerability, whether you can only do click and collect, which has to be booked weeks in advance. These are the consequences now the British people have to endure because of the panic buyers who stripped shops clean in a manner and time I can only compare to when Woolworths went under, and on the last days of the shop's existences, people were trying to buy the very shelves that once had products on. Give it time, I'm sure someone will try and sell it to the metal men, who come round and collect it for money. So how does Emmie Shooter fit into this? Well, Emmie decided in her infinite wisdom that when the crisis first hit, to buy everything she could think of. Which isn't a joke, because she did an interview with The Sun, where she was very, very happy to talk about all the things she did, and how she completely 100% feels no guilt, knowing that while her children had the choice of the foods that they didn't want, they at least had the choice. Which I get, family first and everything. Let's just ignore the number of people going to bed hungry because there isn't food in the shops, and yes, do I need to continue that sentence, you selfish prick? So despite only having 3 mouths to feed, the factory worker from Bournemouth, which I don't think you want to be bragging about now, spent £250 on one food shop where she grabbed fruit, vegetable, eggs and meat, as much of it as she wanted, and according to Emmie this was meant to last 2 weeks. Unsurprisingly, she had to throw most of it out after it went mouldy because no one wanted any of it in her house. But it didn't stop her from buying it. Again, ordinarily not something one should be concerned about. But because of the shortages in food produce, there is a concern. Where this might come back to bite her on the backside is where she is taking photos for The Sun of her posing with all the food she had to throw out, which did draw my attention for a second because we've got this picture here. There are a number of products here that don't go off as quickly or at all, like pickled onions in jars, soy sauce, cheddars, but it was thrown out as well, and regardless. The fresh stuff I get because she admitted herself she didn't even have the freezer space, but she bought it all regardless anyway. Or how about the massive bags of crisps that didn't get eaten either? Her bins were much like all the memes of all the bins that were full of rotten food because people had bought it all and had nowhere to store it. And I should say, while I still do respect her for wanting to do what was best for her children, she blames everyone else for the reason why she herself started to panic buy. As personal experience, I know for a fact my sisters haven't done this once. In fact, they've just got what they needed and what their kids need, and that was it. Because they don't see a reason to panic, even though there is very little. They make the best of a bad situation. It's what happens when you grow up poor. You use what is available and make the most of it. Or you make it fresh. You, Emmie Shooter, have 2 children aged 11 and 15, who now their names, along with your face, are going to be put on blast because they wouldn't eat what you got them. Why didn't you just get them what you knew they would eat? Or perhaps just put it in front of them and say, "Go hungry, bitch," which isn't exactly rocket science. It is, after all, what I would assume your family did to you that my family did to me, and currently what my sisters do to their daughters when they think they don't like chips, when I've seen them eat chips over and over again. It is quite funny. The £250 food shop that I mentioned earlier, Emmie did go into detail about what she bought, and my attention was immediately drawn to the fact she admitted to buying 50 toilet rolls. 50 toilet rolls would last me a year. 3 people then we can safely assume would last 10 weeks. Let's say that if they're eating all the junk that you've been buying, yeah, that seems about right. Another excuse you made for the panic buying was that because Boris Johnson was stricken, that we should all just pounce on the panic buying because there's no one here to run the country, yo. I'm not even joking. It's in the damn article. Of the £250 worth of food shopping you bought, so far you've had to throw out £60 of it. Which, by the way, for a lot of people doesn't sound like a lot. £60 is what my sisters spend a week for themselves. That's 2 adults and 3 daughters, 2 of whom are lactose intolerant and require goat's milk or dairy-free products, which are harder to buy because panic buyers like you again didn't think of dietary restrictions and just grabbed anything you could get, which is incredibly selfish because it's harder to get dairy-free now than it ordinarily is, and it's already quite difficult at the best of times when in my town there's only one actual retailer that sells a reasonable amount of dairy-free, and it's not exactly cheap. Emmie has confessed that now she is on universal credit because her workplace shut down. She's only able to spend about £100 a week on food and will spend £100 a week on food. I get it. Family to feed. Got to make sure they're clean as well. I do, however, want to say this, and I will restate it over and over again. Just because you've bought everything for yourself doesn't now free you from the consequences of your own selfishness. Many people have had to make sacrifices. It is well known and established. But panic buying achieves nothing. At present, the only people that benefit from this are the retailers who are making bank on your reckless spending, especially when you didn't even bother to get the food your kid would always eat, which means you'd then be able to spend your £250 that you did spend and wasted so much of it, just under a quarter by the way, on things they wouldn't eat, like chickpeas. By the way, chickpeas are fantastic, as a filler to something else. I'm guessing these are the type of kids who wouldn't eat edamame but would happily eat wasabi. Not going down that rabbit hole, don't have time, so to the sentence. As the police are getting stricter in the United Kingdom, and to the point where they may just start putting locks on everyone's doors, give them a chance. Feels more like Mega City 1 already. I'm going to stick you in an ISO cube until I can be bothered to let you out. Your food, though, your rations while you're in your cell, Emmie Shooter, are going to be the food you've thrown out. I wish you nothing but the best of luck trying to get through this. I know you worry about getting ill yourself, but don't worry. ISO cubes behind a level 10 force field. Ain't no one getting sick from you. I'll make sure your children get some ration packs.